Can't go by this, you can't make it, it'd be a fraud. You gotta have Combs on your last name and Combs in your blood. You know what I'm saying? He's a made man, it's the black face, you ain't never seen it before.
So this black on?
Everything's black on.
Everything's black on.
Yeah,
love.
I wish I'd done this. I'm gonna do this now. Doing this situation is not easy. Taking Puff to court, suing him is not easy. I don't have the monies that it's gonna take to fight him.
Things just keep getting messier out here in these streets. Lil Rod has come through with some shocking claims, and this time, he's putting Justin Combs on blast. According to him, Justin's out here trying to silence a 12-year-old victim. This tea is boiling hot, and it's got folks side-eyeing Justin like never before. If what Lil Rod's saying is true, this could be a whole new level of messy for Diddy's son. So Diddy's son, Christian Combs, just got dragged into the lawsuit against Diddy as a co-conspirator. And honestly, it's giving like father, like son vibes. The lawsuit's full of wild accusations, like Diddy allegedly forcing victims into freak-offs with prostitutes while he, entertained himself and even recorded it. And here's where Justin Combs, Diddy's other son, gets called out too. So back in February, a producer named Rodney Jones, aka Lil Rod, filed a civil lawsuit against Diddy. In it, he straight up accuses Justin of some disturbing stuff, like bringing in underage girls, workers, and prostitutes. There's even a photo of Justin with an underage girl included in the lawsuit. One claim is about a listening party at Diddy's house where things went completely left. Lil Rod says an underage girl showed up, a worker was brought in, and what Diddy calls a freak-off went down. And if that's not enough, Lil Rod also alleges that Diddy forced him to take a drink laced with something. He says he blacked out and woke up hours later next to a sex worker, completely naked. Justin's involvement in Diddy's alleged shady business is why he's a defendant in the case. Lil Rod says Justin helped run what he calls Diddy's Rico enterprise and sometimes got directly involved. Oh, and there's more. Justin is also linked to an alleged cover-up. Lil Rod says it happened in September 2022 at Diddy's Chalice Studios. Shots went off, and Justin's friend G ended up on the bathroom floor bleeding from his hip and leg. Lil Rod says he tried to help G while begging someone to call 911. But instead of stepping up, Diddy and Justin dipped to another part of the studio. Afterward, Diddy allegedly told everyone to lie to the police, saying it was a drive-by and that he had nothing to do with it. Now Christian Combs isn't off the hook either. There's a whole separate lawsuit where a woman named Grace O'Marquet accuses Christian of essaying her on a yacht in December 2022, and she claims Diddy facilitated it. So, here's how it all went down. Grace was working as a bartender and crew member on the yacht. According to her, everything took a dark turn on December 28th. She claims Christian pressured her to drink tequila, which she believes was laced with something. And y'all, things only got worse from there. Here's what the lawsuit alleges. Christian reportedly became aggressive after she took the drink, groping her inappropriately. He then allegedly cornered her in the yacht's cinema, exposed himself, and tried to force her into giving him head. Grace says she fought back and managed to hold him off until someone else walked into the room. Now here's where it gets even more intense. Grace isn't just relying on her word. She's bringing receipts. She has photos of bruises on her forearm that she says were caused by Christian. And there are reportedly audio recordings from the yacht studio capturing her refusals and his alleged advances. She's seeking unspecified damages and wants a jury trial. But that's not all. She's also naming Diddy as a co-defendant, claiming he's responsible for what went down on his yacht and accusing him of aiding and abetting his son. Of course, Christian's legal team has come out swinging, denying all the allegations and calling the lawsuit meritless. They're claiming this is all just a play for media attention. To make it worse, Diddy's family seems to be distancing themselves from him altogether. Only Christian and King Combs showed up at his recent bail hearing. The rest of his kids didn't even bother. It's a lot to unpack, and the allegations are beyond shocking. There are even claims that Diddy was grooming his stepson, who still showed up to court, but is allegedly involved in the same mess. When Diddy walked in, he was wearing that same old MDC khaki jumpsuit we've seen before. But here's the thing, he looked so much thinner. Like not the luxury lifestyle Diddy we're used to seeing. I mean, being stuck in federal detention for a couple of months will do that to you.
But then
then, in another twist and turn, the children do walk in, but this time it was a lot smaller bunch than it was the last time. So last time you're having all of Diddy's children, except with the exception of Love, who is just a 2-year-old child, so she wasn't at court. But you had all of Diddy's children there except Love. But this time around, you just had Justin Combs and Christian Combs, meaning that there was no Quincy there today. Delilah and Jesse weren't there. Chance wasn't there, and the caretakers of his younger children who aren't of age just yet, they were not present inside the courtroom as well today. But his mom also wasn't in court today. So when Diddy came inside, you know, it was still that standard issued MDC jumpsuit. He's wearing khaki. You know, from that video of, I think that was obtained by Daily Mail back in September, of Diddy playing hacky sack in Central Park, to now he appeared just astonishingly thinner, which you can expect to be inside a federal detention center for a couple months now. A lot different from the luxury lifestyle that he was living before, but he appeared very noticeably thinner, and maybe being locked up in detention is starting to wear on him. He appeared grayer a little bit as well too.
Now the drama doesn't stop there. Enter Courtney Burgess. He's a guy who was friends with Diddy's late ex, Kim Porter, and apparently he's holding on to some explosive stuff, like these so-called freak-off tapes that allegedly show Diddy in inappropriate situations with minors. Well, now Diddy's sons, Christian and Quincy, are going after Courtney. They've sent him a cease and desist letter, accusing him of trying to cash in on their mom's legacy by allegedly working on a book based on Kim Porter's memoir.
Quincy and Christian Combs take legal action. So TMZ reported that Quincy and Christian sent the cease and desist letter to Courtney Burgess and his attorney. Now, this story was covered over my maternity leave. Courtney Burgess is the man who alleged that he obtained a flash drive containing Kim Porter's personal writings from people close to her and used it to publish the Kim Porter Tell-All book.
Speaking of the book, the FBI supposedly has it in their custody, along with 8 freak-off tapes Courtney claims to own. According to him, Kim Porter gave him the tapes before she passed, and they apparently show some pretty incriminating stuff. Not just Diddy, but other celebs too. These tapes allegedly back up claims that victims were drugged and looked like minors. But here's where it gets sticky. Christian and Quincy are saying, hold up, if this memoir or any related content exists, we own it as her heirs. They're not outright confirming a memoir exists. They've denied it before, especially when a guy named Chris Todd tried to publish a similar book on Amazon. But they're making it clear, no one's profiting off their mom's legacy without their permission. As for those tapes, it's unclear if any of Diddy's kids were involved in what they allegedly show. But considering Diddy's stepson was reportedly seen at one of these infamous parties, it's not hard to see why people are connecting the dots. So, Freddie P, yeah, the dude from Making the Band who's been calling Diddy out for a minute now, he's saying there's always been some sketchy vibes when it comes to Diddy and his stepson. Freddie's talking about stuff he claims to have seen firsthand back in the day when he was working with Diddy, like odd behavior involving Diddy and Christian, his son. And now, lawsuits are even backing some of this up, saying Diddy did inappropriate things to minors, with Christian supposedly right there. But it gets even wilder. There's this woman who's suing Diddy, and she spilled tea in an interview with NBC. She's a 38-year-old autistic woman from Alabama, and she claims that Diddy and Jay-Z drugged and assaulted her at an after-party after the 2000 MTV VMAs in NYC. She's saying she blacked out after being drugged and woke up to something she didn't consent to. And get this, she's naming other big-name celebs in the lawsuit too. Now, she also said she stayed quiet for all these years because she was straight up terrified of what Diddy and Jay-Z might do if she spoke out. Like, imagine carrying that fear for decades. It's just crazy how deep this stuff goes. So check this. There's a male victim who's going by John Doe that came out with some chilling accusations against Diddy. Dude sat down with CNN and spilled all the tea, saying Diddy drugged him at one of those infamous white parties in the Hamptons. At first, everything seemed cool. Diddy was all friendly, handing out drinks. But here's the kicker. The drinks weren't just strong, they were dry. By the second drink, John knew something was way off, but it was already too late. In his lawsuit, John claims Diddy dragged him into a van, held him down, and assaulted him while he was too out of it to fight back. Diddy was allegedly watching and waiting for the perfect moment to take control. Like, the level of manipulation and power play here is insane. Now, John's not the only one coming forward. There's this other woman, Thalia Graves, who filed a lawsuit too.
The internal pain after being sexually assaulted has been incredibly deep. and hard to put into words. It goes beyond just physical harm caused by and during the assault. It's a pain that reaches into your very core of who you are and leaving emotional scars that may never fully heal. Some of the hardest parts of this pain are the shame and the guilt I have experienced that plays a negative part in my day-to-day ability to function properly. Being blamed, questioned, and threatened has often made me feel worthless, isolated, and sometimes responsible for what happened to me. My family issues made the pain even worse. I was already going through a divorce at the time of the assault and did not get the support that I needed.
She's accusing Diddy and his former bodyguard of drugging and doing her wrong back in 2001 at a bad boy studio in NYC. Her story? Straight out of a nightmare. She says they gave her a drink, she blacked out, and when she came to, she was bound and violated. Even worse, she claims the assault was filmed and shown to other people. And let's not forget the legal heat Diddy's already under. He's facing federal charges for sex trafficking and racketeering, plus he's been denied bail twice. If all this turns out to be true, it's not just his career that's over, it's his whole legacy. Oh, and here's where it gets extra messy. Reports are saying Jay-Z and Beyonce were at the event where some of this went down. The accusations? That they not only knew about it, but helped Diddy cover it all up. If that's true, it's gonna blow the lid off everything we thought we knew about the industry. This whole situation is dark, twisted, and just keeps getting worse the more you hear. Tony Busby, the now famous Texas lawyer, dropped some serious tea about Jay-Z that has the internet shook. According to Busby's complaint, Diddy and his so-called close friend Jay-Z were accused of drugging and assaulting a 13-year-old girl at an after-party following the 2000 Video Music Awards. And here's the kicker. Another celebrity allegedly stood by and watched the whole thing while these two reportedly took turns assaulting the minor. The complaint claims this isn't a one-off situation either. Diddy apparently acted like this for years with no consequences, believing he was untouchable. And get this, Busby says Jay-Z was not just a bystander, but was actively involved in other alleged crimes with Diddy. So, according to the documents, Diddy and Jay-Z weren't just industry collaborators, they were tight. Like, you can call me by my government name, tight. The two were inseparable back in the late 90s and early 2000s, attending events, after-parties, and supporting each other's ventures. Now, about that infamous 2000 VMAs after-party in NYC, Busby says that's where these horrifying allegations went down. It's wild to think that this was during the height of their fame and influence, and now it's all coming back to haunt them. But wait, there's more. Busby also claims that after he reached out to Jay-Z about his involvement in the suit, Jay allegedly launched a harassment campaign to intimidate the plaintiff's legal team. The lawsuit even accuses Jay of orchestrating bullying tactics against the lawyers' families and former associates. And if you thought this couldn't get messier, insiders are spilling even more tea. Apparently, Diddy was out here recording everything that went down at his parties. Yep, everything. People like Will Smith, Jay-Z, Ashton Kutcher, and Jennifer Lopez were all close with Diddy back in the day. But now they're doing the Usain Bolt sprint away from all this drama. One source claims, these celebs are praying they're not caught on tape doing something incriminating. Allegedly, Diddy had hundreds of cameras all over his house, capturing every moment. So while everyone's staying quiet now, they might not have a choice if the feds pull out those tapes. And let's not forget how quick these celebs ditched Diddy when Cassie's allegations came out. They all saw what went down with her, the abuse, the lawsuits, the receipts, and decided to protect their brands instead of speaking out. At this point, everyone's just hoping they don't get dragged into this mess. The real question is, what happens when those tapes hit the light of day? Because if the feds start knocking on doors, you know folks will start flipping faster than pancakes at brunch. But sadly, there's way more than just this. Brother Love has been making absolute chaos while he was a free man. This brings us to a name that's got people shaking. T.D. Jakes. Yes, the pastor. Folks in his congregation are apparently biting their nails because rumors are swirling that he might have been caught on those infamous tapes. Imagine the heartbreak if a beloved pastor is seen doing something shady. This is a reminder for y'all. Put your faith in God, not just the man in the pulpit. But back to the celebs. Tony Busby, the lawyer behind these bombshell cases, dropped another nuke recently. He says there are over 300 victims, with some being as young as 7 years old. And let's not forget his interview with Piers Morgan, where he vowed to name names. Now he's taking his time to cross every T and dot every I because, let's be real, this level of accusation can ruin lives.
We intend to name people in these lawsuits. We're not going to do it in interviews. We're not going to do it, without doing our due diligence, because obviously, these types of allegations are very hurtful to people if they're not true, and very hurtful, frankly, if they are true. But if they're true, you shouldn't have been in the room and you shouldn't have been participating. So I anticipate that we're going to start filing lawsuits, and it may not be big names at first, but we have a long list of names. And you might imagine in situations like this, that when a victim tells us that this person was in the room or this person participated, we want to do as much due diligence as humanly possible before we file that case. Because in the United States, in almost every state, public filings are in fact public. And, when you name somebody in a lawsuit, the press is going to pick it up, and we're aware of that. So we're going to make sure that we dot our I's and cross our T's. And I expect that there will be some people named in these lawsuits that will raise some eyebrows.
What's even more shocking is the alleged horror stories from these victims. A 13-year-old promised stardom, only to face unimaginable abuse. A 15-year-old, flown to NYC, drugged and violated by multiple individuals. A pregnant woman at a group dinner, allegedly given a laced drink, and waking up in Diddy's mansion, hurt and traumatized. Y'all, this isn't even scratching the surface. Busby said he's working on filing more lawsuits, and while the first names might not be household names, trust and believe the heavy hitters are coming. And let's address the elephant in the room. Why are celebs so quiet? Allegedly, Diddy recorded everything at his parties, and now folks like Jay-Z, Will Smith, Ashton Kutcher, and J. Lo are keeping their distance, probably praying their names aren't on those tapes. Here's the thing, the feds don't play. Once they bring those tapes out and start showing evidence, you best believe people will start singing, and they won't be singing Diddy's praises. The lawsuits are piling up, and even Diddy's family seems to be stepping away. The silence from his former friends and associates? Deafening. But what's more important is justice for these victims. What do y'all think about these horrifying accusations? Will justice finally be served, or will money and power continue to protect the guilty? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and make sure to watch our next video. This tea isn't cooling down anytime soon.